Stop. Before you put on what you always put on, I need you to hear something that nobody in the fashion industry has ever said clearly enough. Your body type did not stop mattering after 60. It matters more. Because the changes that happen to your body between 40 and 60, the redistribution of weight, the shift in proportions, the change in how fabric sits on you, mean that what worked at 35 may be actively working against you now. And the women who look most elegant after 60 are not the ones who have the best bodies. They are the ones who understand their bodies. The ones who know exactly what to put on and what to leave on the rail. And before we begin, one thing I want to say clearly. The goal of every tip on this list is not to make you look like you have a different body. It is to make you look like the best, most intentional version of the body you already have. Every body type has combinations that work beautifully for it. Every figure has strengths that the right clothing choice highlights and weaknesses that the right clothing choice simply redirects away from. This is not about fixing. It is about understanding. And understanding is free. In the next few minutes, I am going to walk you through 6 body type situations that I see women over 60 navigate incorrectly every single day. And I am going to tell you exactly what to avoid and exactly what to reach for instead. Not vague advice. Specific pieces, specific lengths, specific cuts. The kind of information that changes how you get dressed every morning for the rest of your life. And the number one, the one I am saving for last, is the one that helps the most women and is understood by the fewest. Everything I am about to tell you is free to apply. You do not need new clothes to start. You need to know which pieces in your wardrobe are working for you and which ones are working against you. Let us find out together. Let us count down. Tip number 6. Pear-shaped. And this one is for the women who carry more weight in the hips and thighs than the upper body. The classic pear shape. And if this is you, I want to say something before we talk about what to wear. There is nothing wrong with your body. There is nothing to hide. The goal is not concealment. The goal is balance, creating a visual proportion between your upper and lower body that makes the whole figure read as harmonious. That is it. That is the entire principle. Here is the mistake most pear-shaped women over 60 make. They go wide on the bottom, wide-leg trousers, full skirts, palazzo pants, and narrow on top, believing that covering the bottom with volume will make it less visible. It does not. More fabric on the bottom makes the bottom more visually present, not less. The eye goes to where the most fabric is. If you want to balance a wider hip, you need to balance it with the upper body, not hide the lower body with more fabric. Here is what actually works. First, draw the eye upward. Interesting necklines, structured shoulders, a jacket with slight shoulder emphasis, a bold color on top paired with a quieter color on the bottom. When the eye is drawn to the upper body, the lower body recedes into the background. Second, choose bottoms that skim rather than cling or balloon. A straight-leg trouser or an A-line skirt that grazes the hip rather than hugging it or drowning it is far more flattering than either extreme. Dark or mid-toned bottoms help, not because they hide, but because they recede visually compared to a pale or bright-colored top that draws the eye upward. Third, avoid horizontal details at the hip. Patch pockets, belts worn at the hip, cuffs on trouser hems, any decorative element that sits at the widest point draws attention directly to it. Remove those details from the hip zone and you remove the visual emphasis from the exact area you want to recede. 2 more specific things worth knowing about dressing a pear shape after 60. First, accessories. Earrings, necklaces, and scarves placed near the face and upper body draw the eye upward. A statement earring, a bold necklace, a colorful scarf at the neck, all of these create visual interest at the face and upper chest, which is exactly where you want the eye to land first. Second, patterns. If you love a print, wear it on top. A patterned blouse with solid dark trousers is one of the most consistently flattering combinations for a pear shape because the pattern creates movement and interest in the upper body while the solid recedes at the lower. A patterned skirt with a solid top does the opposite, it draws the eye directly to the hip. The pear-shaped woman over 60 who dresses with these principles in mind looks balanced, intentional, and elegant. The one who tries to hide under volume looks exactly what she is trying not to look, bottom-heavy. And if that one gave you something to think about, stay with me. Because tip number 5 is the one I hear about most from women who feel like nothing fits and nothing flatters. And it almost always comes down to one mistake that can be corrected this morning with no new purchases at all. Tip number 5. Apple shape. This one is for the women who carry weight in the midsection, the classic apple shape. And again, before anything else, there is nothing to fix about your body. The goal is proportion and ease. Looking like yourself, fully, unapologetically, completely yourself, only more intentional about it. Here is the mistake apple-shaped women over 60 make most consistently. They buy tops that are long enough to cover the stomach. Sounds logical. But a top that ends at the widest point of the body, at the belly, at the hip, does not minimize that point. It frames it. The hemline of the top draws a horizontal line across the widest part of the figure, and the eye follows that line directly to the width it is outlining. The fix is counterintuitive. Instead of going longer to cover, go slightly shorter or go much longer. A top that ends at the upper hip, above the widest point, shows a little of the trouser or skirt beneath it and breaks the visual connection between the top and the belly area. Or a long line top or tunic that falls past the hip entirely, creating a vertical line from shoulder to mid-thigh, which is far more elongating than a line that stops at the waist. The key is to avoid the middle, the length that ends exactly at the stomach. There is also a fabric principle here. Fluid, drapey fabrics that skim the midsection are almost always more flattering than stiff fabrics that sit away from the body or clingy fabrics that follow every contour. Think silk, soft jersey, fluid crepe, fabrics that move with the body rather than against it or onto it. And necklines matter. A V-neck, a deep scoop, or any neckline that draws the eye upward toward the face pulls attention away from the midsection entirely. High round necklines do the opposite. They create visual weight in the upper chest area and leave the eye with nowhere to go except down the body. A note on belts and waist definition for apple-shaped women. The conventional advice is to belt at the waist to define it. On a mature apple shape, this often does the opposite. It creates a horizontal band across the midsection that draws attention to exactly the area you would prefer to de-emphasize. Instead of belting at the natural waist, try a blazer or jacket that nips in slightly below the bust. This creates the impression of a waist without placing any horizontal detail at the actual waist. Or wear a wrap-style cardigan that crosses at the front, which creates a natural V-shape through the midsection that reads as slimming without a belt at all. The woman who understands these three things, length, fabric, neckline, and dresses her apple shape accordingly walks out of the house looking slim and intentional every single morning. And it costs her nothing, because she is working with clothes she probably already owns. Now, the number 1 tip is still waiting. And before we get there, tip number 4 is for a group of women who are often told they can wear everything. And the women in this group will tell you that this advice is not helpful. Tip number 4. Plus size. This one is for women who are larger or fuller-figured. And the advice they are most commonly given, wear loose, wear flowy, go bigger, is the advice that most consistently fails them. Here is why. When a full-figured woman over 60 wears clothing that is too loose, too oversized, or too shapeless, the fabric adds volume to her silhouette rather than reducing it. An oversized top on a larger frame adds the visual weight of the fabric to the existing weight of the body, making both appear heavier. A very sheer fabric reveals the body beneath in a way that is unflattering rather than elegant. And clothing that is cut too tight creates tension lines in the fabric that pull the eye directly to the areas of greatest pressure. The fix is always fit. Not tight, fit. There is a crucial and important difference between these two things. Properly fitted clothing skims the body without pulling, draping cleanly from the shoulder to the hem without excess fabric gathering anywhere. It moves with the body. On a full figure, properly fitted clothing creates a smooth, clean silhouette that reads as elegant and intentional. Oversized clothing destroys that silhouette by adding bulk. Too tight clothing emphasizes it by creating tension. Avoid sheer fabrics anywhere on the body where you would not want the underlying shape to be visible. Avoid horizontal stripes across the widest zones. Avoid very short hemlines that create visual cut-off points at the widest part of the thigh. And genuinely embrace, the long line, the vertical detail, the V-neck, the wrap style, and the monochrome dressing. A single color from head to toe creates one unbroken vertical line from shoulder to shoe, which is the most elongating, most slimming visual effect available without spending a single dollar. One more thing about dressing a fuller figure after 60 that most style guides skip entirely: texture. Heavily textured fabrics, chunky knits, buccal, thick tweed, add visual bulk to a fuller frame. Smooth, matte fabrics in medium weights drape cleanly and create that smooth silhouette that reads as elegant. This does not mean you cannot wear texture. It means wear texture in small doses: a textured scarf, a textured bag, a single textured element, rather than a fully textured garment from collar to hem. The same principle applies to embellishment. Sequins, beading, and heavy embroidery on a fuller figure adds visual weight to the very area you are trying to streamline. Save the statement embellishment for the neck and face area: a beaded necklace, embellished earrings, where it draws the eye upward rather than outward. And if that one helped, stay with me. Because tip number 3 is one that almost no one talks about openly. And it is one of the most significant fit challenges that women over 60 face. Tip number 3. Chest area. This one is about the bust and chest area. After 60, the changes in the bust, in size, in position, in how bras fit, and how fabric drapes, are real, significant, and largely ignored by most style advice. And getting this area right or wrong affects how the entire outfit reads. Here is the most common mistake: continuing to wear the same bra size from a decade ago on a body that has changed. A bra that does not fit correctly changes the entire silhouette of everything worn on top of it. A too loose band rides up at the back and pushes everything forward. Cups that are too small create the double bust effect that adds visual bulk. Straps that are too loose allow the bust to sit lower than it should, pulling the neckline of everything worn over it down and forward. This one thing, a correctly fitted bra, changes how every blouse, every dress, every jacket fits more than any other single piece in the wardrobe. Beyond the undergarment, consider the neckline in relation to your bust size. If you are larger busted, avoid very high necklines that create an unbroken wall of fabric from chin to waist. This is the most unflattering silhouette for a large bust. A V-neck, a wrap, or any neckline that creates a vertical line downward from the collar is almost universally more flattering. If you are smaller busted, high necklines, boat necks, and layering create the impression of more volume at the chest, which can bring the upper and lower body into balance if you carry more weight below. One practical step worth taking if you have not already: a professional bra fitting. Not at a luxury lingerie boutique, but at any department store that offers this service, which is free in most places. Most women are wearing the wrong bra size. Studies consistently show that upward of 80% of women are in an incorrectly sized bra at any given time. After 60, when the body changes in both size and shape, the bra chosen 10 years ago is almost certainly not the right fit today. A correctly sized bra does not just provide comfort. It provides structure. It is the foundation on which every top, every dress, every jacket either works or does not. 30 minutes and no money spent on a proper bra fitting can improve how every piece of clothing in your wardrobe fits. The women who understand their bust, its size, its position, and how it changes how clothing sits, make much better dressing decisions than the ones who buy tops based on color and pattern alone. Now, the number 1 is still coming. Tip number 2 is the one that trips up the most stylish women I know. Because it sounds like it should be simple. Tip number 2, hourglass figure. This one is for women with an hourglass figure. Full bust, defined waist, full hips in balanced proportion. And you might think this is the easiest body type to dress. It is not. Here is why. An hourglass figure after 60 is usually still an hourglass, but the curves are softer, the waist is less sharply defined than it was at 40, and the fabric that worked at 40 may no longer drape the same way. Many women with hourglass figures continue to dress as if they have the body of 40, and they end up in clothing that is too tight in some places, too emphasizing in others, and not quite right anywhere. The mistake: wearing fitted or body-conscious clothing that traces every curve. On a young hourglass this can be striking. On a mature hourglass this often reads as trying too hard. The curves are there, the figure does not need to announce them to be beautiful. The fix is to define the waist without tracing the body. A belt placed at the natural waist over a slightly looser blouse. A wrap dress that suggests the waist rather than gripping it. A blazer that nips in at the waist without pulling. These pieces create the impression of an hourglass silhouette, and on a mature figure the impression is often more elegant than the explicit outline. You want the shape to be suggested rather than stated. There is also the question of hemlines. For an hourglass figure over 60, the midi length, falling between the knee and the ankle, is often the most flattering option for skirts and dresses. It suggests the leg and the curve of the hip without fully revealing either. The mini, which worked beautifully on a younger hourglass, often reads as incongruous on a mature hourglass, not because the legs are not beautiful, but because the contrast between a short hemline and the fullness of the bust and hip above it creates a visual imbalance. The maxi is also beautiful on hourglass figures, provided the fabric is fluid enough to move with the figure rather than hanging straight down from the widest point. Test a maxi in front of a full-length mirror and walk. If the fabric moves with you, it is the right choice. If it hangs rigidly away from the body, it is the wrong fabric for your shape. That distinction, suggested versus stated, is the difference between elegant and overdressed on an hourglass figure over 60. And now, we have arrived at the one I promised at the beginning. The most important tip for the body type that benefits from it the most. And the one that is understood the least. Tip number 1, petite or slender figure. This is for the petite or slender women over 60 who want to look taller, longer, and more proportionate. And the advice you have probably been given, wear heels, wear vertical stripes, avoid wide leg trousers, is only partly right. Here is the complete picture. First, the most important thing a petite woman can understand about dressing: proportion is not about height. It is about the relationship between the lengths of different parts of the outfit. When you wear a top that is too long relative to your torso, it shortens the leg visually because it reduces the amount of leg that is visible. When you wear a wide leg that hits at the wrong length, it makes you look shorter even with heels. The entire game, for a petite woman, is controlling where visual breaks happen in the outfit. Here is the specific advice. Keep tops shorter, just covering the waistband of the trouser, not falling over the hip. This maintains the maximum visible leg length and prevents the torso from being visually lengthened at the expense of the leg. Wear high-waisted trousers and skirts. They place the waist higher, lengthening the perceived leg from the waist down. Choose monochrome or tonal dressing. One color or closely related colors from head to toe creates an unbroken vertical line that reads as more height than any single piece can achieve. Avoid strong horizontal breaks. A top in one very different color from the bottom creates a visual cut at the waist and divides the figure into two shorter halves. And when you wear wide leg trousers, which are beautiful on petite frames when done correctly, the trouser must be long enough to graze or break slightly on the top of the foot. A wide leg trouser that ends at mid-calf makes a petite woman look shorter. Graze the foot and the wide leg reads as elegant rather than overwhelming. 2 specific and practical details for petite women over 60 that make an immediate visible difference. First, shoe choice. A shoe in the same color as the trouser or stocking creates an unbroken vertical line from the waist to the foot, which is the most elongating effect available from footwear. A shoe in a contrasting color creates a visual stop at the ankle, the opposite of elongating. You do not need heels for this effect. A nude or skin-toned flat shoe creates a longer visual leg line than a black flat worn with light trousers. Second, sleeve length. A sleeve that ends exactly at the wrist, not slightly past, not rolled up to the forearm, is the proportion that makes a petite arm look most elegant and balanced. Half sleeves that end at the elbow create a horizontal break that can make the arm look shorter and the overall figure less elongated. A full sleeve to the wrist, or a clean short sleeve that ends at the mid-bicep, avoids this. The petite woman who understands proportion, not just height, dresses with an intentionality that makes her look as tall and as elegant as she wants to look. And she can wear almost anything, because she knows exactly what adjustments to make to any piece to make it work for her specific proportions. That is not a limitation. It is a skill. And it is one that the women who have mastered it would not trade for a different body type. Before we close, I want to acknowledge something. Every tip on this list describes what works. But none of them require perfection in application. You will not always get every proportion exactly right. You will not always have the exact right length or the exact right fabric. That is not the point. The point is direction. Even moving slightly in the right direction, choosing a top that is slightly shorter, choosing a color that is slightly more present near the face, choosing a trouser that is slightly more fluid, produces a visible result. Dressing well is not a switch you flip on one day. It is a direction you choose every morning. And every single morning you choose in the right direction, you look a little more like the version of yourself you are trying to bring forward. Before we close, here is the one principle that runs underneath every tip on this list. Every body type, every shape, every figure, regardless of age, regardless of size, regardless of what has changed in the last 20 years, faces the same fundamental question every single morning when getting dressed. Where do I want the eye to go? Direct the eye upward toward the face, toward warmth, toward expression, toward beauty, and the figure reads as elegant. Let the eye wander to the widest point, the heaviest area, the least proportionate zone, and the whole figure reads as heavier and older than it actually is. You are not dressing to hide. You are not dressing to apologize. You are dressing to direct. Once you understand that your clothing choices are a conversation with the eye of every person who looks at you, and that you have complete control over that conversation, getting dressed in the morning becomes something entirely different. It becomes one of the most quietly powerful and intentional things you do all day. Pick one tip from this list. The one that most closely matches your situation, not the one you think you should pick, the one that actually spoke to you when I described it. The one where you thought, that is me. That is exactly me. Pick that one. Try it tomorrow morning. Not all 6 at once. Just one. And when you do, come back here and tell me what you noticed. Tell me if someone looked at you differently. Tell me if you felt different. Tell me if the mirror showed you something new. I read every single comment that comes in on this channel, and I mean that sincerely. If today helped you even a little, share it with one woman you know who could use it. You do not need to explain anything or add any context. Just send it. She will understand immediately and completely why you thought of her. And if you are not yet subscribed, do it now. Because next week, I am going over the 6 specific color mistakes that quietly age every woman over 60 who makes them, and not one of them is the color you are probably thinking of right now. You will want to be there for that one without missing it. You are not running out of options. You are not running out of style. You are not running out of body. You are simply at the point where knowing your body, truly knowing it and dressing it with intention and understanding rather than habit, is the most elegant thing you can possibly do. And today you took a real, meaningful step in that direction, not by spending a penny, not by changing a single thing, but by understanding something that is worth more than any new piece in your wardrobe. Tell me below, which tip spoke the most to you?